welcome to the No Spin News, Thursday, August 10th, 2023. Stand up for your country. So we have plenty of politics on the rundown tonight, but I want to open with crime, especially violent crime, where poor Americans are defenseless. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. In many Democrat-run cities and some Republican ones, but not to the extent of the Democrat cities, violent crime in the black communities is totally out of control. And this is the ultimate irony, because the Democratic Party and the progressive movement and the liberal precincts do everything they can, or say everything they can, that's a better description, to help black Americans. It's a theme. It's been that way for decades. But the left is hurting African Americans. Let's take Chicago, for example. Chicago murder victims last year, 22. Black, 77%. White, 4%. Chicago aggravated assault and battery victims last year. Black, 64%. Chicago criminal sexual assault victims in 22. Black, 47, white, 19. Chicago robbery victims. Black, 39, white, 16. Chicago human trafficking victims last year. Black, 55, white, 5. The situation is same in St. Louis, in Oakland, in Baltimore, all the liberal cities. Poor black Americans are getting hurt, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. Why? Because the district attorneys there in the cities mentioned and others will not enforce the law. Why? Because they don't believe in quote unquote mass incarceration. What is mass incarceration? That's putting young black males in prison, because young black males commit violent crimes far more than any other group in this country. So, for decades, they were incarcerated. But George Soros and the far left, which drives the liberal district attorneys, they saw it as racism, not law and order. And so these people got elected, like Alvin Bragg in New York City and Kim Foxx in Chicago. We're not going to arrest and prosecute black people, no matter what they do. Drug gangs, armed, this, that, and the other thing, mowing down 6-year-olds. Remember Kim Foxx in Chicago? Remember when she said there was a shootout in a Chicago neighborhood between two gangs, all right? And she wouldn't prosecute it, Ms. Fox, because she said, well, they both were wrong. They both had guns, so we're not going to do anything. Meantime, law-abiding people live in the neighborhood. Little children play in the neighborhood. This is insane. Okay, so in Washington, D.C., there has now been a tipping point. So far this year, 161 homicides, a 28% increase over last year, and last year was horrendous. All right? D.C. is on pace to be the deadliest year in 2 decades. Remember, D.C. is run by the federal government, but has local leadership. The mayor, Muriel Bowser, is a far left incompetent. 45% of the District of Columbia is black. Almost all of the violent crime is in the black neighborhoods. So, yesterday, a city council member, Trayvon White, said this. Go.
There was another shooting here on 16th V just yesterday morning. And while that night, the police chief, the interim police chief, Smith, stated that we are not in a war zone. I know those who live here know that we are clearly in a war zone.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna say it again. We are clearly in a war zone. If you don't know you are in a war zone, that means you haven't been here.
Now, here's the tragic irony. The people in Washington, D.C. vote for far-left politicians almost exclusively. The same people who are hurting them, the same Soros-driven candidates, are time and time and time again supported by Black Americans. In New York State, where I am, Governor Hochul, reelected last November, would have lost if not for the fact that African Americans in New York City voted for her 90%. Lee Zeldin lost by a little bit. If 70% of African Americans supported Hochul and 30, it would be Governor Zeldin. And in the Bronx, in Brooklyn, in the heavily black precincts, the murder and violent rate in New York is out of control. Yet, the voters keep voting for these people. It is a racial thing. I understand the skin color factor. It's wrong, it's dumb, it's self-defeating, but it's a reality. So I'm sitting here going, look, it's my job to look out for all Americans. I don't care what color, religion, what ideology you hold. It's my job to be a watchdog. Now, I will tell you this. In D.C., Chicago, New York, St. Louis, it's not going to get better until African American voters stop supporting the soft on crime police chiefs and district attorneys. It's not going to get better. Till the no bail laws are revoked, the attacks on police stop, you are going to you yourself may be shot in the head. You have a much greater chance of being shot in the head than I do. Okay? That is the truth. I still feel sorry for the poor people, and they're defenseless. They're absolutely defenseless against these drug gangs and these thugs, heavily armed. And you hear guns, guns, guns. You hear all that. These progressive district attorneys don't even prosecute gun crimes. So don't tell me gun, 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 Joe Biden. That's the memo. Very, very sad, but a reality. Governor DeSantis suspends Orlando State Attorney Monique Worrell for dereliction of duty, says the governor. Quote, the practices and policies of her office have allowed murderers, other violent offenders, and dangerous drug traffickers to receive extremely reduced sentences and escape the full consequences of their criminal conduct. In some cases, these offenders have evaded incarceration altogether. State Attorney Worrell's practices undermine federal law, Florida law, I should say, and endanger the safety, security, and welfare of the communities that Miss Worrell was elected to serve. So she is out, just like the DA in St. Louis was fired by the Attorney General in Missouri. Good. Good. Get rid of them. If the voters won't do it, then the governors have to. But you're dealing with a very corrupt press in Florida. Now, most people don't know that. All of the newspapers are ultra-left, okay? Television stations, all they do is weather. Local TV in Florida, you're not going to get much. Maybe that's unfair, maybe a few stations, but pretty much not. So Miss Worrell, Miss Worrell, just to reinforce how bad she is, all right, did not file charges against more than 40% of those arrested in her district by the police. That's anarchy. So you would think that the press would say, hey, good job, Governor DeSantis. No. So the St. Louis, boy, I'm delirious today. I apologize. The Sun Sentinel, based in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Extremely left paper. Okay? Here's what they editorialize. Quote, the Worrell suspension is not only blatantly partisan, but carries obvious racial overtones, which DeSantis tried to deflect by choosing as her interim replacement Andrew Bain, a black county court judge and DeSantis appointee with 3 years of experience. Obvious racial overtones. Yeah, that's right, Sun Sentinel. It's all about her. She's black, and that's why DeSantis booted her, right? Not the fact that she didn't prosecute 40% of those arrested. No. She's black. That's why he went after her. This is so irresponsible, such race baiting. And who's responsible for this? The editor of the newspaper, Julie Anderson. And she's also the editor of the Orlando Sentinel. Okay, Julie Anderson allows this kind of garbage to be put in her newspaper. And it's just garbage. Race baiting garbage. All right, now, the Sun Sentinel is owned by the Tribune Publishing Company. A guy named Heath Freeman, I guess, is in charge of that. And he's another far-left guy who lives in New York City. He doesn't have anything to do with Florida. Let me tell you a Sun Sentinel story. You'll remember I did the history show with Donald Trump. We opened in Fort Lauderdale, Florida at the hockey arena. Huge crowd, so big, the Secret Service was caught by surprise, couldn't get the people into the arena because they had to wand everybody in time for the show. The show was delayed an hour. Okay. The Sun Sentinel photographer snuck into the arena somehow and shot empty seats because nobody was in the arena. They were all outside online getting wanded. The Sun Sentinel put the picture on the front page saying nobody showed up to the Trump show as a big bomb. That's the Sun Sentinel. That's what you got in Southern Florida down there. Again, Julie Anderson, you want to email her or whatever, you feel free to do that. Awful. Hey, if you watch my program, then you already know how much I love Holly the Terror Dog. I could never imagine the awful experiences some innocent pups have had, like being abandoned or not fed properly. Animal cruelty is horrific. Despicable behavior, and sadly, there are sickos who do it. This is why I am eager to tell you about Delta Rescue, the largest no-kill, careful life sanctuary in the country. All of their 1,500 plus animals were abandoned, left for dead. I can assure you it is not cheap to rescue thousands of animals, and it's not inexpensive to feed them and provide them with love and comfort. This is why Delta Rescue needs our help. Please give what you can. Every dollar counts. Visit deltarescue.org, deltarescue.org. Find it in your heart to give today. Let's go to the mail. We got Tom. Come on, Bill. We've all heard this before. Biden's in trouble. They have found the smoking gun. The noose is tightening. Yada, yada, yada. Oh, we're quoting Seinfeld now. I believe it will just fade into the sunset. Not going to fade. Money's too big. Joe Biden's not going to fade. Al. Biden is standard old news. Nothing's ever going to come of the man's criminal activities. So you just convicted him. All right. But you'll see. Jody Eimers, Vermillion, Ohio. Bill, thank you for all you do on behalf of the American people. I watch you daily, read all your books. Even if President Biden did not receive money directly, if Hunter did get millions, can Joe be held responsible? Sure. Conspiracy, racketeering, absolutely. But no FBI investigation. This is the reason. Cicely Gold, Atlanta. So let's say the House actually does impeach Biden. The left, even if they mention it at all, will surely announce there's no truth to it. And it's revenge for what was done to President Trump. Yeah, okay. But if impeachment inquiry is brought up, all the evidence floods out so everybody will know. Anthony Russo, Staten Island, New York. If the House controls the purse strings, why don't they hold back money for Biden's budget till he protects the southern border? That money's already been allocated. Next time around, they might gut. But at Homeland Security, you really want to cut their budget, even though they're booting it on the border? Tough. Jeffrey Brown, Bonita Springs, Florida. Chris Cuomo always likes to bring up Jared and Ivanka Trump making money from the Saudi government when you talk about Hunter Biden. Yeah, I know it's whataboutism, but there's no crime for Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump. If there were, believe me, they would have been charged. There you go. Peter Dobleman, Omaha, Nebraska. Your discussions with Geraldo are fascinating and insightful. Please continue to have them. We will. Terry Myers, Richmond, Virginia. Where is Bernie Goldberg? Bernie's kind of semi-retired. He does his website stuff, but doesn't like to do a lot of TV anymore. Maybe he doesn't like me anymore. I don't know. But we got Geraldo to replace Bernie on the media. Jack Sweeney, Avalon, California. Your tip about 5 minutes vigorous exercise has changed my life, O'Reilly. I'm a new man at 87. So now let's extend it to 15 minutes. You got the 5 down. Let's get to 15 a day. But way to go, Jack. Want you around as long as possible. Deborah Glassener, Gardnerville, Nevada. Just finished reading Killing Crazy Horse. Excellent. Never knew how bad it really was. Also read United States of Trump. Very well done as well. But I'm exhausted with all the information. Yeah, I know. That's what we do. We give you a lot of information. Okay, Killing the Witches. Next up, September 26th. Pre-order on BillO'Reilly.com. If you want the hand-signed version, we got it for you. O'Reilly said, well, Lou Rosenberg, you heard our soundbite earlier this. We'll be here at October 27th, live show, Paramount Theater, Huntington, BillO'Reilly.com, Ticketmaster, go right to the theater. We'll set you up. It's selling fast. And then a reading special. We're going to knock that off in about a week. Killing Crazy Horse, Killing the Killers, Killing the Legends, all bundled together, plus a free Team Normal hat, all $32.95, best deal of the summer. Got about a week for that. And word of the day, do not be crass. C-R-A-S-S. Back in a final thought in a moment. Hey, you would be crazy not to use AMAC's Medicare Advisory Service if you're 65 or over. AMAC's Medicare Advisory Service is the conservative alternative to radical left companies like AARP. They offer free consultations with qualified Medicare experts who can answer all your Medicare questions. And I'm sure you have plenty. Even if you're already on Medicare, contact AMAC to see if you are overpaying for your current plan. There's no cost, no obligation to change plans, and no radical left agenda. Do business with people who have the same values you do, people you can trust. Forget the TV commercials and mailings advertising Medicare services. Go with a company that not only offers you dozens of Medicare choices, but also looks out for your interests without the woke nonsense. So please visit AMAC's Medicare Advisory Service at amac.us/trust. That's amac.us/TRUST trust. All right, here is the final thought of the day. Since I left cable news 6 years ago, plus debate, robust debate, gone. People don't do it anymore. All right, it's too hard. So News Nation, the new cable news network, has hired me to do robust debate with Chris Cuomo every Wednesday night. Here's what happened last night.
You got to remember, Bill, to people who aren't in our business and for people who aren't in the inner circles of political insider intrigue, this is exactly the same thing that Republicans said was so repugnant with Trump and the Democrats.
It's not the same thing to me.
So him making phone calls to Georgia officials and others saying, find me votes and subverting democracy, that's not a big deal. But money is, because we don't know anybody in politics who uses their connections to make money. Come on.
If you let this go, if you let this kind of selling influence go to the tune of $30 million, you don't have a federal government any longer. But the overarching strategy
But if you
is
allow
this.
someone to go after the exchange of votes, that's okay.
Birthday boy, nothing's okay with me. All right? I stare, step the facts. What the Republicans want to do is destroy the Democratic Party in the run-up to the 2024 vote. Nobody at this point is assured that Biden will run. I don't think he will.
Agreed.
But there isn't one Democrat, not one Democrat in Congress at this point who has the least bit of curiosity about selling influence to the tune of $30 million. Okay, you can see the whole debate, and it is worth watching. Okay? On BillO'Reilly.com. You don't have to be a premium member or anything like that. You go there. We do that every week. Wednesday, 8 o'clock. Not done anywhere else. Again, it takes research to do it. You got to be quick. Bill at BillO'Reilly.com. I told Cuomo last night he got his butt kicked in that debate. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he won it. I want you to watch it. Okay? And tell me what you think. I'm sure some of his supporters in the News Nation audience think he bested me. But again, we need this kind of debate in this country, and we're not getting it. We're getting a lot of ideological stuff. We're getting a lot of cable news hosts go, tell me more. What do you make of that? And the network people are worse. They're worse than the cable people. Mike Wild's rolling around in his grave. All right. So thank you for watching and listening to the No Spin News. I'll have a new column Sunday noon, and we really appreciate you guys supporting us and checking us out. All right, we'll see you on Monday. Thank you for watching the No Spin News. To watch the full episode anytime on BillO'Reilly.com, please sign up to become a premium or concierge member. Visit BillO'Reilly.com to sign up and start watching today.